Well, hello and welcome to Healthy and Active in the Couve. I am Nick Medlock, a certified personal trainer through NASA, as well as a certified nutrition coach. And I work with Northwest Personal Training. And I am here with Trent Corey, as always, who is an amazing physical therapist and a fellow geek as far as anatomy, theology, science, and all things of holistic wellness. And we have decided today to talk about habits and maybe the difference maybe between New Year's resolutions and things that actually maybe work better than New Year's resolutions. So I will let Trent introduce this topic further and let's get to geeking out.
Awesome. Let's geek it up there, Nick. Yeah, basically, I thought about just this time of year. I mean, right now, as we record this, it's December. Everybody's kind of thinking and restocking in their mind what happened over the past year and maybe things they thought about from last year and it just didn't come about. And we kind of want to dissect a little bit like, well, why does that tend to happen? We tend to fall back into old patterns. They are subconscious programs that we tend to keep to repeat. We'd love to have redefinition of how we can put the past behind us and redefine what our future wants to look like. I get excited when talking about this because it's so many things that we do. I mean, we know so many things with exercise and reps and sets. A lot of us on the surface know, I shouldn't be eating jelly beans and candy, and I know I need to be walking and running more. But then what do I need to do to actually do that? And it really just comes down to those daily habits and routines and defining on, what that type of person should be to do that, right? So the connecting to, like if someone's a non-smoker, you just don't even think about smoking, right? But
Mm-hmm.
like, if you have these old thoughts of like, kind of being used to scrolling on your phone, hanging out at home, just taking an extended break when you could be doing something.
Yep.
You want to get to why that happens. A lot of times, we all know better on the surface what is better. I mean, you talk to any smoker, let's say, for example, they know
Mhm.
that that's not good for them. But, why do we keep going back into these things that we tend to just pull ourselves back? And it has to do a lot with dopamine and all
Mhm.
these different things that give us a hit that we keep wanting more and get less out of it, but we still do them. So just love to talk about it so we can have at least a good discussion of how we can create those shifts in
Yeah.
our behavior, because it's really about that behavioral shift and that mindset. And
Yeah.
once you get that done, then you can get those sets and reps done, and then it becomes easier. And then you're not having to feel like you're pushing a boulder uphill every time it's a dread. You want
Yeah.
to have it be an enjoyable process that, gets your juices going just
Yeah.
right.
So you had mentioned smoking. So I've got a personal experience with that. As far as I also did a talk last January about habits and things like that. And so for me, I used to smoke, and it was the hardest thing for me to stop because I would have these instances as a musician where I'd go into clubs and do music, and a lot of the people would be smoking and doing things like that. And then you add alcohol, and that takes away your inhibitions, kinds of things. And it wasn't until, and I didn't have the vocabulary until recently to describe this, but it wasn't until I decided that I wasn't the type of person that smoked that it actually changed. And everything I did to resist it, it worked for a little bit, but it was always kind of like in the back of my head, this fight. And so, like that saying, "What you resist persists." And so, when you just finally accepted that, for me, and then I decided I'm not that type of person, and I looked at it, and I knew it was unhealthy, and I knew that my life was committed broadly to all this different type of health things, and I was getting myself in shape, and I was getting myself scientifically oriented, and that was like a big shift in me. It's like there was that cognitive dissonance, and so when I realized, and I learned the term behavioral habits, or identity habits,
Yeah.
book
Yep.
called Atomic Habits. That really gave me the language to identify what was going on there. I decided I wasn't the type of person who smoked, and it changed immediately. Like I don't want to do that. That's not me. So is that kind of backing up where you wanted to
It's
go?
totally what I was getting into. Yeah, for sure. And if and anybody has not read Atomic Habits, get that book. There's also another book called by BJ Fogg. It's called Tiny Habits. There's another one, Charles Duhigg wrote The Power Habit, I believe it is. All those are great, but Atomic Habits, oh my gosh, that book is amazing. I just get it on Audible. That's what I did. Listen to it 1.5. That's what I do. And it really helps me kind of get that. But you're right about identifying with who you are and what you want that future self to be like, right? I always think about this future self concept of like, well, that's just you, but it's you're going to be a completely different person if you're really wanting to make a shift in your life. And so you have to think about like what that type of person, what would that person do? And one statement I heard is like, who would I have to be to make this goal inevitable, right?
Right.
Like what kind of person do I have to be? Well, a person who's wanting to do this isn't going to be staying up till, midnight or after every night and, drinking soda and, just just not doing poor destructive habits, It's, hey, I'm probably going to be getting up early. I'm going to be getting my workout in every day. That's carved out in my day. And that's just who I am. And the more you can kind of connect to that person, it just becomes something where it's just so much less work. It's just less work because you know what you're going for and you're strongly driven by it. And that's really true, is that you need to be driven by a compelling future, a future
Yeah.
that, because a lot of times it just in the moment, you're doing sets and reps and you have no vision to that. I mean, it sucks, man. Like, I get out there running in the cold and the dark, and like if I don't have a good focus and purpose of like what I want to try to do for my spring racing season, or even for 50-year-old Trent, 60-year-old Trent, like all that kind of thing gets me kind of pumped up more when I kind of see what I want to do. So for example, like I want to think about, doing more pull-up. I want to get stronger. So like kind of visualizing myself doing like a pull-up and a muscle up or something like that would be right now it's hard for me to do, but like can I think about something that gets me excited, how I can be stronger than I ever have been.
Mhm.
And we know now that, all the science out there and all the abilities for us to have good training plans and to stick with things, there's really no limit to those kind of things. It makes it exciting. And so we want to have something that gets us fired up so then we can see that future and then we get drawn to that. And
Yeah.
that's what's great. And that's what we want people to have. So then those routines, and then it's penciled, it's actually firmly in the schedule, then you get it done. And then, you have guides like a trainer and you have a PT, or you have any sort of person who you're working with who can see that next level and guide you better is a huge point. And that gives you accountability. And that kind of makes you, when you get to those rough patches, when you're in between where you were and you're kind of this unknown, which is something, sometimes it's like a fearful thing, but like the more we can kind of go towards that, the excitement of the unknown can be really great. So, yeah.
How do you, in dealing with these habits, if somebody's like trying to create a different behavioral structure in their life, how do you keep from getting an overwhelm from all of these things that you envision and want to do, and then what's real and practical?
Right. And you have to make sure it's a true decision. A lot of things are just wants, and that's kind of where you talk about the New Year's behavior, you know, you say the thing, right? You want to run that marathon or whatever, but like if your behavior is just like you're only running 3 or 4 miles at a time and you take a nap when you could be running or whatever, like there's certain things that it has to be an actual true committed decision. And those decisions, and I heard this really well said by somebody that said, decisions, literally means to cut off, right?
Mhm.
Cut off from other possibilities. So like you get overwhelmed, it just means you have so many other things. You got to decide which things really matter to you. And then the decisions that are really true for you, instead of just a wish or a want, is, it shows up in your calendar, okay?
Mhm.
And it shows up in your bank book. It
Yeah.
means like you put your money down, like, if I
Yeah.
want to run the marathon, I'm gonna sign up and I'm gonna
Yep.
pay my money for that race. Well, dang it, I'm gonna do my work now. Or I put my money down for a trainer to get my button gear and make me sweat and do my reps and sets. Well, now I'm showing up. Now I'm actually committed. And that's, same thing I see in the PT, as people come in for PT, they want to get their pain. Some people will just say they want the pain, but then when I say what's needed to do it, that's
Yeah.
a little different story. We got to make sure that we outline what's really necessary, and then like you look at what the steps really are, and then see if you're actually still jazzed to
Yeah.
want to get that. And if it's a strong enough why, most people bear anyhow, and that's true
Mhm.
of anybody in the world. Like, like if you have a strong enough why, like why you're doing it, like,
Yeah.
having something like, well, why racing, right?
Right.
Why do you have something very strong to do what you need to do? That you want to be a strong role model for your kids, or, I love to get to those stronger depth things versus just a personal, oh, I like to just be ripped and I want to run fast. I'd love to have more of this strong, like, well, it really means a lot for me to be strong and healthy in my 80s so I can really enjoy grandkids or I can travel the world. I don't want to be kind of homebound. I want to be able to explore and have all this abundance of life that offers me. So, if we can connect to what that future looks like, it makes it a lot more, lot better, lot easier for us to hone in on what actually needs to get done, and then you just break it in from the big goal to like
Mhm.
current day. What kind of things need to happen today for that thing to become, I love to say what needs to be done or what I need to think for that goal to be inevitable.
Right.
Like if I do these things, this is going to happen. And
Yeah.
then you put in that certainty much more in front. And then the more certain it seems, you're going to go for it more.
Yeah. I love that. And there's a lot in there that I want to talk about. We don't have time, but I think what I'm hearing is too reminding me of things that are sustainable for your life without like trying to have the want and desire of being shredded with six pack abs all the time. Having something that's maintainable, that's achievable for you, and in the long run, part of like a daily, weekly routine. And I love the thought of habit stacking, where you already take something that is habitual for you and you kind of tie it in with something else that you're trying to learn rather than trying to reject something. I love the fact that you said decision means to cut yourself off. When you're identifying yourself as a person who does X, Y, or Z, you're also defining yourself as somebody who doesn't do these other things because they
Right.
get into who you are. And then so if you intertwine all these different habits, it becomes not like you're on autopilot, but the intention is already there, and they're just easily flow one into another. So I love all of that, and we can create like even an outline and structure, like you were saying on the calendar for accountability.
Yeah, for sure. And it's really just like, like I love the habit stacking idea because, or like, oh, we also talked about environment when you said about smoking and like you got into bars and like, yeah, people will do that there. And so being aware of that environment and you want to create that environment for you to have those habits go. So same thing with like, the old, the TV room or the living room where you got the TV. Well, you can make that your habit stack, your room, because it's okay to watch a show here. Like, we're not saying don't do any of that stuff, right? But like, can you set up a spot on the floor where you're going to do some stretches while you watch something? Well, yeah, I mean, you
Yeah.
totally do that. I mean, give yourself that time where you want to veg on the couch too. But like, sometimes it's like if my wife and I sit and watch TV at like whatever, it's like 7:30 or so, we might watch the show or something. So can I do a few little stretches? Can I do a couch stretch literally on the couch or
Yeah.
something to kind of get my mobility going? Like those little things add up. And those are things I love to tell people because it doesn't take any extra time out of your schedule.
Yeah.
So many people, they'll come back to me with their exercise plan, like, oh my gosh, you gave me all these new things. And they're thinking, like, where am I going to put this in my day? I don't have a half hour spot in my schedule. So those things where you can kind of sprinkle in, a calf stretch while you're just kind of, I have it in my office here. I have a slant board and I just put my legs on it. I get a nice stretch of my calves while I'm checking my phone for emails or waiting for a client to come in. Like, or doing those air squats when you get out of the, like every time you get out of the chair, you do some air squats or something.
Yeah.
Like, I love things like that. And then the environment becomes the cue for you to do that. So like,
Yeah.
eventually, like if I do 10 days in a row of like sitting in the living room with my wife and like I start doing my couch stretch, I just start doing it, right? And I don't even have to think about it because I've gained some momentum. And that's the key part. The atomic part is the atomic is very small things,
Right.
but atomic can be this huge explosion of very powerful things. So just taking those little things to make sure you're creating those tiny little things that you're doing daily, and then it becomes a little bit more hooked into your routine, and so it becomes easier for you to do. So yeah.
Fantastic. And I love all of that. I've got a lot of workout equipment in my house, obviously, being a trainer. But one of my favorite things is in the living room under the TV. We've got these little storage units. You know, it makes it look nice. It looks very homey and very nice and decorative. But you pull the shelves out, and then there's my recovery tools. Like I've got my electric balls and foam rollers and things like that. But you wouldn't know it, you know, but you sit down on the couch and you're like, I got to stretch a little bit, or I got to do some recovery. And so you could still watch the TV show or even play video game while you're doing stretching. I mean, you could always, you know, do all these little, I call them exercise snacks, you know, throughout the day, you know, like one common thing is like for somebody recovering from shoulder things, like how do I do some of the things that I need to do? If I'm doing like counter push-ups is a thing that I have people do often. Like, do you brush your teeth? Well, yeah, of course you brush your teeth. So do 5, brush your teeth, do 5 more, and then you're doing 10. And if you do that 3 times a day, then, you know, that's 10 times 3, that's 30 push-ups. You regular, and then you're getting that rehabilitation or even just that movement of all the tissues and everything. And it's a no-brainer because, like you said, it's synced in with another habit.
Right, exactly. And that's the thing, is like you don't have to, you call it like piggyback time or just extra time. You have time that you're doing these things, or single leg balancing while you're waiting in line, or all these little things. They all do matter. And so those little habits, then eventually you just kind of end up doing them more and more. And that's these little things do add up, and that's what we want to make sure that you're not letting, and it does take a little bit of that, in tune with your mind and your brain and your body. And that's, I think, sometimes a fault of a lot of folks is we just get locked into work and we're just forward and we don't do anything. So anytime you can break that up, actually it just has led to, it usually leads to better productivity when you just get up and do some squats and, move your arms around, get things going, because you'll just feel better. But then it'll help you kind of get out of those stagnant states that, we're sitting on our butts all the time. We need to activate those muscles, and
Yeah.
then those kind of things become easier to do when you're doing your regular routine. So all those things really do
Yeah.
matter. I know it's probably pretty trite, or just a simple thing to say, and but it really just if you can think of just one thing and how you can change that and do that regularly,
Yeah.
even if it's just like, okay, I'm going to do, like you said, the push-up thing, or any sort of other just walking every night after dinner or whatever. All those things make a big difference. And
It's true.
so that's what you want to start with. And
Yeah.
then if you need any more guidance, there's folks like Nick, or people who can kind of help with that process to, okay, where do you really want to be, and then what actually is necessary for you to do that. So that way you kind of keep that momentum going, and then you can keep it tracked better. So yeah,
Awesome.
great.
Very cool. Well, one side note off of what you were saying, there's a lot of research that shows you could have just a killer workout at the beginning of the day, and if you sit all day long, it's still just as bad for you. Like the sitting is the new smoking or the new cancer, whatever the expression is. But like even then, your mitochondria and your cells and everything start to slow down, and if you're doing all of these things that we're talking about, interspersing, stretching and squatting and whatever movement, rather than being at the office for 8 hours straight,
Right.
like, then that has a better effect on your body than just having a crushing killer workout and then sitting all day. If you're moving throughout the whole day, that's so much better. It keeps your mitochondria working, keeps your metabolism, keeps your body from having a lot of the metabolic dysfunctions that we're experiencing a lot in America right now. So I think it's neat, and I think you'll get that joke.
Oh yeah.
If not, leave a comment and I'll explain neat.
Yeah, I like the idea, like the more you, and also like I think talking about just general attitude and demeanor, repetitive thoughts, right? Most people's thoughts, 95% of our thoughts are repetitive, and mostly can be quite negative, or it's self-deprecating, and those kind of things add up. And the more we can kind of genuinely lead with appreciation and gratitude and love with each other, like for yourself and for doing your best that you can in the world,
Yeah.
right? Things are going to screw up. You will. It's just
Yeah.
going to happen. I do it every day, right? But can I be comfortable and be okay, like you said about letting go?
Yeah.
Let things be okay with you screwing up. And sometimes if you let yourself have that permission to screw up, actually, a lot of times you may not screw up nearly as much.
Yeah.
And then you're okay with whatever happens, but then you're just leading with gratitude. There's a lot of great, really helpful chemicals and hormones in your body when you just have a gratitude practice. And the more you can kind of have that sense like, gosh, I'm really so lucky to be able to move around. And like so many people would love to have that and they don't. And my mom was a hemiplegic. She had, no use of her left arm, no use of her left leg, right? Like, would she have loved to walk? Yes. She didn't live to very long, right? She lived to 69 years old. So, the thing is like, how can we really be genuinely appreciative of everything we have and take advantage of that? And so, and that way we spread to what we need to do for others, and that makes the world a better place. We all have to do what we can do in our own world, but the better we're able to have those positive things come out, it spreads just like anything else. So it's not just about the pure movements, reps, and sets. It's kind of just activating your mind to what can I do? What can I do to get better? And what am I happy for? And those things creates a really happy, really good spread to the world, and that's what we need more of here. So
Agree.
uh,
Totally agree.
yeah,
I love it. And on a very human note, there, if we want to be a change in the world, we have to start with ourselves. And we don't even have to have a huge platform because we're mimetic creatures. We see and we copy. We've got the mimetic cells in our body that make us kind of replicate the things that we see. So if other people are observing your changed behavior, your good attitude, your love, it affects them on so many different levels. You're changing the world by changing yourself.
right. And that's all you can change anyway.
Yeah.
And sometimes, you're looking at, oh, in the US, we have this much blah, blah, blah. Like, whatever, like we need to focus on what we can do here. And the person who comes in my door and I'm able to be with them and just really be fully truly present in that moment. And we want to be mindful that for the future, but also just kind of what we experience in the generous present moment to give as much as we can because of so much we've been given by this wonderful source energy.
Yeah,
We're truly blessed. So
agree. Well, I will. I want to correct myself. I said mimetic cells. I was looking for the word mirror neurons.
neurons, yeah, great, yeah, you got it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but oh, it's such a pleasure to talk with you. We should talk more metaphysical things like this. Like
love it. Yeah, for sure, no doubt. I think
Brad,
that's the key. Is we just help each other out, figure out all these things. A lot of these messages need to get out. So I'm really really grateful for us having these conversations, and the more we do, the better, I'd say.
I am super grateful for them as well. And yeah, let's keep these going.
Okay, awesome, Nick. Thanks.
I will let you take the goodbye away this time
Oh,
again.
all right, awesome. So yeah, thanks everybody for Healthy and Active in the Couve. Dr. Trent Corey, really have enjoyed these conversations. We really want to make these the best things for you guys to get the most out of this, good information, but we also want more input. So if you have any thoughts on what we want to, if any topics, or we're also considering more guests that we've had. We had a guest last time, which was great. Love to have more input so we can make this the best conversation we can go. And anybody you think we should be aware of to promote them, we would love to do that because we want everybody in the Vancouver area to have the best access to really good information on how to help improve their health and to promote people who are really have a heart in it to do that in the community. And there's so many great people, and we love to meet them and love to have that spread more throughout this community. So I really appreciate everything, and that's all I have, Nick. Thank you so much. We'll see you all next time. Really appreciate everything. So take care.
Thank you, Trent.
All right.